Ladies and gentlemen, bonjour. My name is Verrasant Byanasaye, a 15-year-old student at St. Mary's College, Kisubi. Through this speech, I hope to inform you about a problem that our country, Uganda, faces. A problem that has wreaked carnage across our country in our north, east, west, and south. This problem is called corruption, a name that we have heard over and over. According to our president, Mr. Museveni, corruption is the number one problem Uganda faces, as quoted in his 2019 State of the Nation address, Parliament. Corruption is the dishonest or fraudulent conduct of those in positions of authority. In the education sector, it manifests itself in various ways, such as in instances where there are ghost teachers on government payroll, to whose accounts money is submitted as salary, and later on, this money is withdrawn by yet to be known persons. Secondly, the swindling of money that is meant for actives in the education sector by persons in authority. Thirdly, the inflation of prices of various scholastic materials or even materials that are meant to build schools by persons in authority. Fourth, deliverance of substandard materials such as textbooks, government schools, or even substandard construction materials to seed schools. The allocation of money in the national budget to the education sector and no work is done, or even in instances where some work is done, the work that is done is substandard, such as when money is submitted to government to the education sector for construction of schools, and substandard cement is bought because of its low price, and this cement is used to put up houses. Later on, these same buildings that are classrooms collapse. That's actually an example of corruption in the education sector. The allocations of money in the national budget for the education sector and no work is done, or even in instances where the work is done, the work is substandard. Then fourthly, something that's absurd, there are forced tax cut-offs from teacher salaries by persons in authorities in some districts. This is corruption. In the health sector, corruption manifests itself when government drugs that are free are sold to people by health personnel. When prices of medical requirements are inflated beyond normal, or when money that is allocated to the health sector is swindled by persons in authority, or even when money is allocated to that health sector and nothing is done, or when even the work, or even when the money is done, when even the money is allocated, substandard work is done, and also most importantly, it manifests itself when money is asked of one visiting a government facility where treatment is free and one who pays that money. That is high level corruption that's committed by the person soliciting the bribe and the one who pays it. And the above misogynistic activities lead to adverse effects. In the education sector, poor education develops since teachers are not being paid, or even those who are being paid, the salaries are low. And also, education facilities that are built and are meant to house the students actually collapse due to the substandard work. Then, these teachers who are suffering because of their low pay actually stop teaching, and what happens? We have the school dropouts sincerely because of this, because a chunk of their salary is being swindled by corrupt officials, and this leads to high illiteracy levels in the country, which is detrimental to our country's development. Inflation in education costs leads to payment of much school fees, causing about 20% of school dropouts in our country. The teachers that are supposed to enjoy a good life teaching their country's youth in turn suffer, and hence the poor performance we see in national education. The school buildings fall since substandard material has been used to build them, and the poor studying conditions the students go through lead some to drop out, and even those that stay perform poorly, in turn barely learning anything. These are the detrimental effects of corruption in the education sector. In the health sector, patients die because the money that could have been used to treat them has been swindled by corrupt officials. Carnages at hospitals occur since the buildings are substandard, or even the machines bought for testing and treatment are substandard since they were at a cheaper price and the money that could have been allocated to buy something good has been swindled by these corrupt officials. So you actually see that they fail to work, leading to the suffering of the poor people who even cannot afford to pay the bribes solicited from them and are left with no option but to suffer from their pain and in the long run die. So all in all, in the health sector, corruption leads to the most grievous thing that could have thought about: death. So whoever is committing corruption, remember that whatever shilling you steal, you're inadvertently leading to the death of someone, simply because you have stolen the money. It could have led to a better life of this person. However, this whole battle can be fought off if we get the message about corruption out there through various mediums such as peaceful demonstrations, newsletters, dialogue with various leaders and citizens to inform them of this enemy, corruption, and demand for transparency from persons in authority. Make those persons in authority accountable for their actions when handling public funds, and help the various anti-corruption agencies such as the IGG, the Inspectorate of Government, and also in coordination with helping these people, we should also help them through citizens' arrest to get these corrupt persons when we get them, because if we don't, we are the ones who are going to continue suffering. Yet the corrupt people are enjoying their money in their luxurious mansions and living conditions, as us, whose money that has been swindled, whose money that has been swindled, we are actually dying like ants. We cannot do this without support, but the only support we actually need are the channels which to use to put the message out there that corruption is bad and an enemy that is winnable if we fight properly, if we fight bravely. The channels that we need to go through when we get evidence that so and so is corrupt, that's all we know, and that's all we need. And the corruption that we had in our health and education sectors will be totally dismantled, and the Uganda that we want will be there for God and my country.